I want to do something interesting here. I want to take you back to the year 2013. Think about what happened that year. YouTube was at its peak, Smosh became the most subscribed channel on YouTube with 10 million subscribers. Wow, that seems small in comparison to the biggest YouTubers now. Psy was big, other YouTubers like Epic Mealtime and Freddy W were big, and Iron Man 3 came out that year as well. So 2013 was a pretty fun and enjoyable year. There was nothing else that could have made it more fun and enjoyable. Oh wait, there was... Oh man, how could I have forgotten? Attack on Titan aired that year. Attack on Titan is a show about a race of humans who live behind these three walls which protect them from these monsters called Titans. After a 50-foot colossal Titan breaks down the first wall, the life of the three main protagonists, Eren, Armin, and Mikasa, change forever. They train for 5 years in order to fight the Titans. In that time, they meet other notable characters like Reiner, Bertholdt, Annie, Connie, Sasha, and Jean. I've been wanting to make a video on this show for quite a while now. I've mentioned Attack on Titan in my other videos, but I haven't really done much other than that. Plus, this show is so complex and layered that it's hard to talk about it. It's hard to talk about why I love this show. It's hard to talk about not just one of the greatest shows in the genre, but one of the greatest shows ever. So where do we begin? Well, in order to talk about this show, we need to talk about...
How's it going? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
Very big fan.
Hajime Isayama. Isayama, like you and me, has a passion for writing and creating stories. His passion for manga started in high school, where he would often submit his work in contests. After he graduated high school, he enrolled in the manga design program of the art departments of Kyushu Designer Gekkun. Isayama got the idea of Attack on Titan from a video game, where the world was under attack from aliens. He felt that if those aliens were 10 feet tall human-eating monsters, that it would make for a pretty interesting story. So he went to work on the first volume of the manga. However, when he tried to get his story published, the publishers told him that his story has a great concept, but the drawings were poor. Isayama was shut down numerous times and almost gave up on this dream of his. But then a little publishing company called Kodansha gave him a chance, and the first volume of Attack on Titan was released on March 17th, 2010. The story was read and met with great reception, and like other great mangas, Attack on Titan got an anime adaptation which was produced by Wit Studios and aired on April 7th, 2013. So that's the background. That's who Hajime Isayama is, how he got the idea of Attack on Titan, and how it was adapted. But the question that many, like myself, want to know is how? Why? How did he come up with a story that from the front seems like your generic survival story to a complex political war thriller so naturally? How did he do it? How did he make it work? Well, in order to understand that, we must understand the characters. Every character in Attack on Titan, every person who has spoken, every character that we have seen matters. To quote High Top Films himself, in order to know a character, you must understand what they want, what they need, and what they feel. This Eren wants to kill Titans after his mother was eaten by one right in front of him. This Armin wants to go beyond the walls and see the world, see the sea, to be free. This Mikasa wants to protect Eren at all costs because she feels that it's her duty. This Jean wants to be a leader. Reiner and Bertha want to go back home. Annie wants out. Connie and Sasha want to live peacefully. Eren wants the truth. You see what I'm getting at here? We know every character, we know their traits, we know what they want and why they want it. I don't think another show would be able to balance the stories of the side characters alongside the main characters like Attack on Titan does. I want to look at Naruto as an example of this concept. As the show goes on, there are only two characters who get consistent writing, and deservingly so. They are Naruto, of course, and Sasuke. These are the only two characters who are really given any focus and care for in the entirety of the show, and the other characters just don't have anything going for them, and even when they do, it's not significant enough, aren't given enough time, or it's just put a filler. What I can appreciate from Attack on Titan is that every character that we have seen has had their moment to shine that contributes to the ongoing plot. Whether it be Sasha saving a girl, her story of being badass, Jean being competent, Ymir's reveal of being a Titan, Armin showing off his intelligence, Mikasa being a badass, or Levi being an extra badass, we're able to see it all. We see them being competent. Their actions and dialogue are able to contribute to the story at hand. You can't get rid of anything they say or do because it would affect the story or their characters, which is great for the show. However, it doesn't just stay like this. The goals that our characters have don't stay the same. They fluctuate, for the most part, throughout 4 seasons. Eren starts off as a hopeful boy who wants to kill the Titans, to a man who wants to unleash genocide to his entire race. Why? Well, I would tell you, but we don't know the full reason yet. Reiner is thought of as the big brother of the group, and as the seasons progress, he is viewed as a traitor. But then, we learn who he really is. We fully understand who this Reiner Brown is. We understand what he really wants and how he really feels. Season 4 as a whole really does feel like the focus is mostly on Eren and Reiner and their perspectives of the world, which brings me on to the next subject of the story. Remember how I said that the story of Attack on Titan is so complex that it's able to shift its tone and storytelling so naturally between seasons? Well, that is still the case. We start off thinking that this show is about survivors, about people who want to defend themselves from these monsters. But where do they come from? Why are they here? There is a mystery to it, and as each season goes on, we go deeper and deeper into the hole to understand the truth. This is very similar to J.J. Abrams' style of writing known as the mystery box. If you don't know what it is, I'll explain it. The mystery box is a concept used in the story to show the audiences a little bit of something, a little piece of information, but not enough to actually tell the audience what it is, but just to open the door a little bit. This is essentially the device that Isayama chooses to tell his story in. There's a mystery about Attack on Titan as soon as the show starts. What are these Titans? Where are they from? Who made these walls? We have these questions that keep coming out as we want to understand the truth. As each season goes on, we start to understand more and more of the world that is shown to us. The story goes from being a mysterious apocalyptic show to a show about war, politics, government corruption, genocide. And this setup is all thanks to the planning of Isayama. Unlike most authors with long, convoluting stories, Isayama planned for the story to be more than what it seemed like from the very beginning. He knew exactly what he wanted and kept building upon that each volume. It's clear that he had a vision, that he wanted to tell a story like no other, and he wanted to do it in a clear and concise way. No filler, which is something I appreciate not happening in the show because that kills the pacing, and spreading out the seasons throughout a certain amount of years, which is also because Isayama was taking time on writing the volumes of the story, but whatever. It's clear that whenever there was something new introduced into the show, the groundwork for it has already been built up. Want to switch up the tone to a more government corruption story? No problem, just show snippets of government incompetence throughout the first 2 seasons. The reason the story is able to be cohesive without feeling convoluted, confusing, and overstuffed is because Isayama planned the story from the very beginning. You never felt like he needed to add a piece of information or decide to retcon something because it works. He had every idea from the start so that when we see the full picture in later seasons and go back, you can actually see he was planning it from the very start. Which brings me to subverting expectations. The show, I feel, took a big turn when season 2 came out. People were waiting 4 years for the second season to come out, and many people assumed that a season 2 might never come out. And then it came, and most people had mixed thoughts about the season, as did I, since the main protagonist that the show had laid out basically took a back seat for the first half of the season. However, in this time, we were able to spend more time with characters that we didn't spend enough time with in season 1, which brings me to Reiner and Bertholdt. We initially thought of these guys as pretty cool and Reiner as a great big brother role model, but then this scene came and everything changed.
もう俺には何が正しいことなのかわからん。ただ俺のすべきことは自分のした行いや選択に対し戦士として最後まで責任を果たすことだ。ライダー、やるんだな、今ここで。勝負は今ここで決める。エルトルト。
When this scene happened, there were questions going over in my head. I was sweating, I was so confused. They were playing with the reveal, but then what I realized is that they subverted my expectations. We thought that Annie was the only traitor, the person who betrayed the group, but not only do we learn that Reiner and Bertha are Titans, but they're also the same Titans who caused this whole mess, the ones who fueled Eren's rage to kill Titans. But just as we're hating them, just as we think that they are the biggest pieces of scum on the show, Isayama hits us with Season 4. After learning the truth about the world in Season 3, which is the payoff of 3 seasons building up the question, what is in that basement? Where multiple people died, other truths were uncovered, and character changes happened, the first half of Season 4 Part 1 puts us in Marley, and just as we're hating Reiner, the truth is told to us. We learn that Reiner was ordered to attack Paradise alongside Bertha and Annie. We learn that the leader of that mission, Marcel, sacrificed himself protecting Reiner. We learn that Annie wanted to abandon the mission, but Reiner wanted to continue on, and in doing so developed split personality, which is shown throughout the past seasons as well. We see the warrior of Reiner, whose mission is to destroy the people of Paradise, and then we see the soldier Reiner, the big brother type who takes after Marcel's personality and feels like he is one of them. Again, just as we feel that Reiner is the bad guy, we ask ourselves again, who is really the bad guy here? We also think of Marley as the bad guy, but then we learn the truth about the past between Marley and Eldia and we think that they are the good guys in some way. But then we remember what happened to Paradise, we remember other characters we've grown to love, so yet again we have to ask, who is the bad guy? Or is there no bad guy at all? What if the bad guy is ignorance? Is the use of subverting expectations meant to show that there is no true bad guy at all? Well, there's a chance of that being true, since in episode 9 we actually see Marley and Eldia building a little relationship with each other. I think this goes to show that if you get to know one another, you're not so different from each other. Also, the moment in episode 5, which I think is the best episode of the season, is a fantastic one. It is the definition of subverting our expectations. Just when we think Eren and Reiner understand each other, just as we think that Eren might be in peace,
敵を駆逐するまで
he fights back against the world that has ridiculed his race and chooses war. The show on multiple occasions challenges our beliefs and understandings that we have on the show. On one hand, we think that this is a show about survival when in actuality it's about war and politics. When we thought one thing was bad when it actually wasn't, when we feel that it's right to push back and take part in violence, or when we believe that ignorance is one of the main themes of the show, whatever the case is, the show is able to subvert your expectations and is continuously pushing your beliefs and ideals, which not many shows are able to do in such a natural way given the show is juggling with so many ideas and is trying to say so much. I would complain about this if this was the CW shows or The Last Jedi, since they have some interesting things to say, but A, they don't know how to implement it into the plot and it becomes a distraction to the actual story, and B, there's not enough time to explore these ideas in such little time, making it feel half-baked. Attack on Titan is able to benefit from the time they have in order to spread out the ideas throughout the episodes and seasons, and is able to implement the ideas into the story to make an engaging plot to unravel.
戦わなければ勝てない。戦え。戦え。
Eren Yeager. I talked about Eren and his wants and the change of his character a little bit in the character segment, but I really want to go in depth because this character work, this writing, deserves its own segment. I talked about Armin and Mikasa, Reiner, Erwin, but none of them, I repeat, none of them have gone through a significant character change like Eren. Remember this guy? He was so rash, happy, hopeful, but most importantly, he was so determined despite being terrible at things that other people were better at. Now, who does that sound like? But you know what happened to him? He took L after L after L after L. However, that is not what changes him. He changes when he learns the real truth about his father, the real truth about the world, and the real truth about the Titans. It's at this very moment that Eren Yeager changes. I find the moment of him and the Survey Corps finally discovering the sea a sad one. Since everyone is so fascinated and happy to see the ocean, Eren is just there, motionless, thinking about something else. This Eren feels like a different person. He's calm but in an unsettling way. He views Titans differently because now he knows who they are. He feels that if people across the ocean are killed, then maybe true peace can come and they can finally be free. He goes from someone who wants to kill the Titans to someone who wants freedom, to be truly free and to not be a slave to the world. The reasons for Eren's actions in Season 4 have not yet been uncovered, but does it feel unnatural? Weirdly, no. We've seen Eren be pushed back and beaten countless of times from a world that loathes his race, that hates them, plus him learning the truth and wanting to commit genocide despite not knowing the full reason doesn't feel odd. As I'm currently writing this, Season 4 Part 2 has not aired yet, so we don't know the true reason until then. However, what is clear is that Eren Yeager has gone through a significant character change. He came from someone who was seen as a hero to many to becoming a villain in most people's eyes. This change of a character's ideologies and goals is what makes Season 4 so intriguing. Eren is willing to wage war and kill as many lives as he feels are necessary until his enemies are gone. And although it's sinister, it's understandable for what he's doing. I feel that this is what Anakin Skywalker's turn to the dark side should have been written, by actually building up the moment and making it feel legitimate and not forced.
とにかく私はこのくだらない世界で兵士ごっこに興じられるほどバカになれない。
Everything matters. Everything we've seen in Attack on Titan, from every character, every scene, every frame, every piece of dialogue, matters. After the reveal of Reiner and Bertholdt being the armored and colossal titan, people kept going back to see the details, and we can see glimpses of these moments from Season 1. Reiner, Bertholdt, and Annie constantly being huddled during the attack after Walrose broke down, or the moment Annie apologizes after the death of Marco and Reiner tells her it won't do anything, and in the next season we see the truth of what really happened. Ymir is an important character too because we didn't know it at the time, but she's from outside the walls. We see flashbacks of her life years ago, but we didn't know exactly what it meant. The walls being made out of colossal titans is now a crucial detail in Season 4 because we now learn that the reason for them being there is so that the founding titan with royal blood can unleash them upon the world if they so well please. Or how the word warrior and soldier are constantly used in Season 1, only to learn that warriors are referring to Eldians who are titans and serve Marley, and soldiers are the people within the walls fighting to protect it. Or how about that moment when Bertholdt broke down in the end of Season 2 and basically reveals that there was a world outside the walls? Or how about that moment in the first episode with Eren's dad, which is brushed off at first?
そうか。船の時間だ。そろそろ行くよ。
ちょっとあなた、エレンを説得して。
カルラ、人間の探求心とは誰かに言われて抑えられるものではないよ。
Which plays a part in showing how he raised Zeke and how he was learning from his mistakes. You might think Isayama retconned these ideas to make it appear as they were always there, but he always planned for these things to happen. From every line said by a character, from every shot that may go over our heads, he's been planning this from the very beginning. And I bet that if you were to go back and watch the first 3 seasons to see if Isayama really planned out everything and to see if every single reveal actually is able to date back to even the tiniest pieces of information we get earlier on, chances are you'll be just as amazed as I was. Everything matters in Attack on Titan. Sometimes in shows or movies there are times when plot devices are used and they can be thrown away since they make no sense or contribute very little. I mean, look at this scene. I didn't notice at first, but you can clearly see Bertholdt almost biting his hand to turn. You see what I mean? There is not a single piece of detail you can forget in this show. There is not a single piece of dialogue you can forget, a shot, a frame, just the tiniest bit of detail you cannot forget or choose to forget, because in the end, it all matters.
ここだ！ここに空洞があるぞ！
The music. I'm not one who often talks about the musical score in a film or show, so when I say that the musical score in Attack on Titan slaps, you know I mean it. The score is unlike any I've heard in anime before. Most animes primarily take place in Japan, so for Attack on Titan to not just take place during the 1800s, but to have the setting be in Europe was an interesting decision by Isayama. The only Japanese character in Attack on Titan is Mikasa, and we don't get introduced to another Japanese character until season 4. But I'm getting off topic here. Let me talk about the musical score briefly. Anytime the score plays in any scene, you feel the sorrow, hopeful, terrifying, action-packed music that the score is trying to convey to you. Hiroyuki Sawano is able to make a piece that brings out a sound that you don't often hear in anime. It's chilling, refreshing, and breathtaking. I'm not going to talk about the musical score too much because I'm not someone who knows music very well. It just sounds right. I brought up the topic of the music so I can talk about the action. The action in Attack on Titan is amazing. Everything from the use of the ODM gear to Titan fight scenes is thrilling to look at. The fight scenes between the Titans become even more fascinating once you learn that Isayama is a huge fan of MMA, and a lot of the moves that are used in the fight scenes are inspired from the sport itself. However, although the Titan fight scenes are really great, it's really the scenes that involve the use of the ODM gear that are the most spectacular parts to watch. Whenever I see a scene involving swinging and ODM gear, it reminds me a lot of the swinging sequences from both Sam Raimi's and Mark Webb's adaptation of Spider-Man. Whenever we see Spider-Man swinging, the camera is following him. It feels quite dynamic, and we feel like that we're there. We feel that we're part of the web swinging, and we feel like Spider-Man. It's essentially the same when it comes to the use of the ODM gear in Attack on Titan. We feel part of the action, it feels dynamic, and it's just breathtaking to watch any characters swinging around fighting Titans in the ODM gear. And when it comes to the ODM sequences, there's no way I can't mention the fan favorite, Levi Ackerman. Levi's pretty badass despite being as short as Lorenzo Insigne, and he commands a ground that has people respect him. It's also not too bad that he has the best fight scenes when it comes to the involvement of the ODM gear. Just look at these scenes for yourself.
動きを完全に読んでたってことか。目をやられたのか。おしろい。
Levi has the most engaging swinging sequences in the entire show. When you see Levi swinging around in his ODM gear during a fight, you know shit's about to go down.
自分で自分の背中を押したやつの見る地獄は別だ。その地獄の先にある何かを見ている。それは希望かもしれないし、さらなる地獄かもしれない。それは進み続けた者にしかわからない。
Attack on Titan is a show like no other. From the characters, to the story, to the themes and messages, to the use of subverting expectations, action, musical score, no show is able to come close in my opinion. Well, maybe Daredevil, which I still love, don't worry.
So, do you like weather?
You two know each other?
No.
The final season of this masterpiece will start airing on January 9th of 2022, so as I'm writing this, I hope that I'll be able to get this video out before the first episode hits or during the season. This video is essentially a look back on the 8 years the show has been out for. I don't normally like repeating myself, but I feel that I must for this conclusion. Attack on Titan started out as a simple show about humanity's survival against monsters, to a show about the implications of war, politics, and relations between nations, misinformation, ignorance, and overall becoming a more complex and well-built up show from what was such a small premise. Once the show ends and the credits no longer say to be continued, will be the day when we realize that Hajime Isayama didn't just create a great anime, he created one of the best shows that we will ever see in our lifetime.
来いよライナー